Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of our MuseScore tutorials. Excuse me. What we're going to be working on today is understanding the palette tool over here. If your palette tool is missing and your project looks like this, hold down the function key, which is normally on the bottom left side of your laptop. It says FN, and press the F9 button at the top, normally top center of your keyboard. That will bring the palette back up. The other way to do it is if you go to the view here, you can click the little checkbox next to the palette button. So if you ever lose this, this is a very, very helpful toolbar that I like to keep over here at all times when I'm editing and writing in MuseScore. So that is how you bring it up, either function F9 or the view and palette tool button. You can see we have all these other things here that we could actually turn on, but that's going to be a whole nother tutorial for later. What I would like to do here is you'll see I created a project called the Circle of Fourths. I'm going to start by creating some notes here, and I do that by clicking on the Note Entry tool. I'm going to select a quarter note, and I'm going to go using my arrow keys. For some reason, if it ends up at the wrong spot to start, you can use your arrow keys to start at the beginning, and I'm going to type a C scale in. So very simply, I'm going to type the letters C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to type in all of my major scales here so that I can actually see what they look like. The next scale I'm going to type in is going to be my F scale. And you'll notice that it puts the F above the previous C. Whenever you're using the keyboard functions to type the letters in, it's always going to put the note above the previous pitch or within the closest note to the previous pitch. So if you want to start your scale lower, you can actually use the down arrows to move the F down to where you want to start. And then you can type the rest of your scale in. G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, many of you are going to realize that the B in an F scale should actually be a B flat. So I can use the arrow keys to go back to that B, and I can press the down arrow, and I can turn that into a B flat, just like that. So the arrow keys are great for navigation, especially when you're composing. If I want to move on to my next scale, I can do a B flat scale. Again, that's a really high B flat, so I can move it down here, and I could start there on B flat. After B flat, I go C, D, E, arrow key down makes it E flat, F, G, A, B, down with the arrow key makes it a B flat. So there I have my B flat scale, which has two flats, B flat and E flat. I could do the same here for, bring it down an octave, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. Next, we'll do our D flat scale, and we'll start that an octave lower. D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C flat. Oh, I'm sorry, not C flat. What am I doing? C, D flat. Now, if you make a mistake and you miss a note, for example, the G flat that I missed, you can always use those arrow keys to go back and change it. There you go. So the scale's good. So if we want to move into the sharp keys, let's go to our F sharp scale. We can go G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. Now, I want this to be an E sharp, but you'll notice when I'm using the arrow keys, it keeps turning it into an F natural. So what you need to do if you want that to be a true E sharp is highlight the E and use this function here. So up here, these will always keep the note in the spacer line that you've selected and just add a sharp. The arrow keys always defer to the simplest note that you need it to be. So we all know that an E sharp is the same as an F natural, so the arrow keys are going to default to the F natural. when we're inputting a scale like an F sharp scale, we want that to be a true E natural. So we enter the E, we use the sharp tool up here, and then when they're ready to move on. So we go to our B scale, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Next, we can go to our E scale. And I'm just using my arrow keys. F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Let's go to our A scale here. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Next up is our D scale. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And then last but not least, we'll do our G scale here. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now, if you don't like the whole arrow key all the way down an octave, you can very simply just use your arrow to pick where you want the scale to start. So if I wanted my next scale to be a C scale, I could just click on the C and then type in D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and it will base the following notes off that first one that you clicked. So you can use arrow keys, you can use a combination of the cursor and the arrow keys, whatever you want. So here I have my C scale, F scale, B flat. I have all 12 scales entered into the computer. We can use our playback function by selecting the first measure and hitting play, and we can listen. Spacebar will stop it or start it. So your spacebar is actually a shortcut for stopping and starting. Now, if we would like to, instead of we entered all the notes in with the arrows. If you actually want to change the key signature of the song to match the scale, we can do that by highlighting the scale that you want to change the key of, and you can go to the palette tool and select the key signature. Now in my F scale, you'll notice I have one flat, so I can change the key to one flat by double clicking here. You'll notice the flat disappeared on the B, but it reappeared here at the beginning of the measure. That's because for these two measures, the song is now in the key of F, which puts one flat in the key signature right here. We can do the same thing for all of our scales, and we can actually make the key signature reflect the scale. Now, if you don't know, oh, I'm just realizing I skipped my E flat major scale. That's okay for this demo. If you don't know how many flats are in the key, you can simply count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flats for our D flat key. So there's 5 flats. And if you hover over it, you'll also see it says D flat major. So I double click there. So I can change all these keys. 6 sharps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sharps. The key signature can match the scale. 5 sharps here for my B scale. 4 sharps for my E scale. 3 sharps, oops, 3 sharps here for my A scale. 2 for D. 1 here for G. And last but not least, we went back to C. So you'll see to get it to go back to C, it put a natural in the key signature. So if we want to, since we already have a C scale up here, I guess we don't have to enter it twice. So if we select that, hold down the Shift key, click here, right click, and choose Delete. that will clear out all those measures. You can actually remove the measure here by deleting the measures this way. So if I go into Edit, Measures, delete selected measures, that will actually remove them from your score. So now I have all my scales except for, if you remember, I messed up here and I forgot to put in my E flat major scale. So if I put my cursor here and if I click Add Measure, I can insert one measure. And I can also, now you'll notice that that inserted it before. So I can actually click over to this box. And when you add your measure, it will insert that measure to the left of where your highlighting is. So what I would like to do is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to put my E flat scale in. I'm going to change this to 3 flats. I'll put this one back to 4 flats. And I'm going to add my notes. I'm going to do my E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. So there's my E flat scale. Now I've got all 12 scales in all 12 keys. So this is a great way to practice using the key signature tool over here on the palette bar. It's also a great way to practice inputting your scales and writing in different keys, whether you're using the sharp and flat function when you're entering it, or the up and down arrows as you enter to change the notes. You can compose this either way, and sometimes you'll find yourself wanting to change the key for the song. Other times you'll just need to use a accidental in your compositions. So this tutorial has shown you now how to do both. So I hope this is helpful, and we are going to move on to our next tutorial.